Prime Minister Modi, why don't you take some questions from the freest press in the world? Mr. Modi, do you deserve the trust of our... Du vet, den pressefrihet nummer 1 I verden.
We are joined by Norwegian journalist Helle Lyng, whose one question at PM Modi has sparked a massive debate in India. While some are calling her an anti-India spy, others are praising her for her courage. Welcome, Helle. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me.
Right. So, first up, how would you respond to people saying that your question to Modi was perhaps crossed the line from journalism into activism?
I think people that say that don't understand what journalism is supposed to do. We are supposed to ask tough questions also to people that don't accept journalists and don't want to take questions. That is our job. So sometimes, as it was on Monday, the question is about the question itself. And that is also the power of our occupation.
Right. So, Modi is the Prime Minister for over 1 billion people. That is why your question is being viewed not just as an insult to him, but also to India as well. So, what do you think about that?
Of course, I don't want to insult the Indian people. I've talked to the last few days very many nice and kind people that's both in India and outside of India. And that's not my intention. My only intention is to try to challenge the powerful people of this world, including Prime Minister Modi. So the Indian people, but I do also appreciate the feedback. So I also appreciate constructive criticism. And that's fine. And that's a part of growing and also a democracy that is good, is a place where people can discuss with each other. So I encourage that. But I don't encourage all the comments I see.
Right. Any constructive feedback that you could share with us that you received?
Well, I do think it's interesting. Some people found my approach to at the second press brief with the MEAs very harsh and very confrontational, and that is was also because I didn't think we were getting answers of him. He would not address human rights issues, and he would not address press freedom. He kept talking about all the good India does in the world. My job as a journalist is not to ask questions that they want. It's about asking questions that they don't want. So that was, but it was interesting to see that even some people that are not too fan of Modi didn't like those types of questions. So I do think there's a difference in how we do our work in the two countries, and I don't regret how I do my job. But I do think that, let's say this happened in India. We were in Norway, so this is Norway ethics and standards that we follow here. But in India, maybe I would have had to do it a little differently.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So you were able to question your Prime Minister last night as well. What did he exactly have to say, and what do you make of it?
So Prime Minister Støre, for those of you that don't know that much of him, he is a very experienced politician in Norway, and especially when it comes to foreign policy. So Norway has always been wanting to have a little bit of a bigger role in the world than what our the size of our country says that we should have. So we have always tried to utilize soft diplomacy and power through that. So he's obviously in a little bit of a tricky situation when it comes to having a Prime Minister Modi to visit us, because in Norway, freedom of press is important, and that's also why at the first press conference, you see that Modi will be exiting to go to the king before Støre, because Støre, our prime minister, will stay to do his democratic duties, which is to answer to the press as well. So I think it is interesting the type of situation he was in yesterday, and having to also kind of balance being a prime minister that does, as he told me, know a free press is important in a democracy. But he also said India is a country of almost 1.5 billion people. They might be doing things differently over there when it comes to the press, and they have a democracy. You guys hold elections, so that's also his response to me asking him why Norway addresses India as a democracy. Because the way I wanted to challenge him there was that what is a democracy without a free press that is able to challenge their prime minister? Indian people have not seen their prime minister be challenged in a press conference during Modi's 12 years in power.
Right. So since your clip went viral, you've been called a spy, you've been trolled massively, your address and numbers have been shared apparently. So is this an altogether new experience for you, and how vicious has it been?
This has definitely been a very new experience for me. I've never experienced anything like it. But also it's a really small price to pay to have my Facebook and Instagram accounts closed, because I know that journalists in India are facing much worse repercussions and have much tougher working conditions. So let's say I'm banned for life from Facebook and Instagram. That's okay. You know what? If Mark Zuckerberg, if you're listening, if that's the way you want to do Facebook and Instagram in the 21st century, you go ahead, you know? There are other platforms that I can reach my audience and talk about press freedom, and I'm happy about that. But it's been overwhelming, of course. I'm a small town reporter from Norway. I see also a lot of people question my credentials, like why should she do this? What gave her this opportunity? People talk about how I'm not a famous journalist and not that I'm not on TV. And I think people misunderstand the power of the press here in Norway. The power of the press is that any journalist can get accreditation to basically any event, any government event that's available for the press. You can attend that and ask questions. And if your question is meaningful or good enough, that could suddenly be a news across our entire country. And in this case, in India. So I'm very grateful that the Indian people discussed, and a lot of people appreciated my question.
Right. I mean, you've certainly become a famous journalist in India now. You mentioned that hundreds of Indians have written to you praising you for the questions you asked. What all have you learned about India in the past 48 hours, and also about its media landscape?
Divided nation with, and I knew this from before too, but that there are also, that Modi has a very strong base that's very mad right now, but also that there are very many people that are craving critical journalism in India and craving that their politicians are held accountable for their actions. And that's also what I've learned of the press is that, at least at the press conference I was at where they took questions, the MEAs, those types of questions that were asked from the Indian press is what I would call softball questions. And I understand why they asked them, because they are not able to utilize our profession the same way that I am. Because sadly, the situation for journalists in India is very alarming today.
So, as you just mentioned, Indian journalists were also there. How did they react to your question at PM Modi and later at the MEA? Did anyone speak to you about it?
I'm not going to talk about that because I have not clarified that with people I met at the conference, so I don't feel comfortable discussing any conversations I had there with anyone in that room.
All right. So coming to your exchange during the MEA press conference and Sibi George's really long answer, several channels in India said that George shut you down, that he slammed Helle with his counter. But what are your thoughts on that, on his answer?
I think it really is just dependent on where you see it or your point of view. For me, it was important to try to get an answer. What I got was a very long monologue about what India has contributed to with in the world. And that's not wrong. Like, India has contributed to so much and is a growing economy and a very well equipped to tackle some of our challenges when it comes to climate crisis. There's a reason why the Nordic countries today look to you. But for me, as a journalist aiming to do critical reporting, I was interested in the human rights aspect and also the press freedom aspect. And those types of issues, they deflected from that.
Right. Your question was why should Norway trust India, considering human rights violations in the country? But the truth is that Norway does trust India, right? Which is why these countries are working together towards more cooperative activity. So my question is, what were you trying to get at? Like, Indian government continues to stress that they stand for human rights. So are there some specific examples that you feel of human rights violations that you feel still need to be explained by the Indian government?
The reports from, for example, Amnesty and Human Rights Watch are very alarming reads for anyone interested in those types of topics. I will direct you towards those for a more elaborate explanation of what's going on. I'm more, as a reporter, my job is to also challenge the countries that Norway cooperate with. And as we now, after this week, have strengthened our ties to India, I'm wondering at what cost, and also wondering if there is any type of commitment from Modi or any of the politicians present this week in Norway to try to create a better democracy where human rights are more basically respected. But that I did not get an answer to, no.
Right. So what I was trying to ask was, don't you see there's like contradiction between the language that European countries use in terms of human rights language, but also in comparison to their behavior with powerful partners? So isn't there a contradiction there?
You have to remember, I stand on the outside of government in Norway. I'm also not only trying to challenge India here, I'm also trying to challenge the Norwegian government strengthening their ties to India.
Right.
Can we allow it? Should we do it? Should we contribute to raising India even further, elevating their position on the world stage? And I'm not talking about India's population when I say India. I'm talking about the power and the government of India. I'm talking about Modi. Can we allow that without maybe falling short of our own values? That was the premise for my question. But I appreciate you asking as well, because I think that's good to clarify.
All right. Do you regret this whole episode, and would you have done the same, considering everything that's unfolded now?
Oh yeah, I would have definitely done the same. I don't regret anything. I stand even stronger and firmer in my beliefs of a free press around the world. And it's actually only made me even more eager to try to see what I can do and what my writing can contribute to making press freedom even easier in Asian countries. And of course, that's an uphill battle. So yeah, but it's been, I feel privileged to have been able to contribute, but also knowing that I come from a very privileged corner of the world.
Right. Thank you so much, Helle. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much. It was a great conversation.
Journalism at Newslaundry is powered by the public, because when the public pays, the public is served. Visit newslaundry.com/subscription and pick a payment plan of your choice. Pay to keep news free and independent. Your future, and indeed the future of democracy, depends on it.